Beyond the big reveals,
something big is changing.
Past the splash, our future lives defined.
The exhibit halls at CES now show technologies only science fiction writers could think about just a few decades ago.
From the TV tech of tomorrow to what's moving our cars.
We're going to be launching in 2025 with this truck.
To keeping our brains healthier through rap.
But listen up, it's scientific, the way I put these words together like hieroglyphics.
This is Scripps News Reports from CES. We are here at the world's biggest technology show, the biggest since before the pandemic anyway. And in a moment, we're going to sit down with NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith to talk about the future of live sports. But first, something we think you care a little bit about. After all, you're watching this right now. TV or streaming. Got a question for you. How far apart are my hands right now? 60 inches, 75 inches, 90? What about 115 inches? Our screens are getting much, much bigger. But as they blow up, the way they work is actually changing in a big way. And the stuff we put on them is changing too. Those changes are impacting all of us. The massive screens of the newest TVs make for flashy displays at CES, but this year they herald big changes.
As you can see to my right, your left, we have our amazingly new giant 115-inch TV.
TCL is adding new chips to its TVs to capture what's been dubbed the next gen of TV, effectively a two-way over-the-air signal.
We're beginning to introduce ATSC3 tuners in our line as that starts to get a little bit hold in the years coming.
That definitely creates a two-way communication path where you could get real-time ad replacement within a spot.
Over-the-air ads targeted to you based on your viewing.
We're streaming, but we're losing out on a lot of the local channels.
Justin Hyatt works for Tableau, a company owned by Scripps News' parent company. It's making free signals easier to access and record. It uses your home Wi-Fi to make those free over-the-air and streaming channels available on your phone, tablet, or other TVs in your home. There's a DVR, and depending on how you set it up, you may not even need an antenna at all.
So when you just get the device itself, that's where having right out of the box 60 channels, all live streaming without having to worry about connecting an antenna. We're looking to still be able to have that live television experience without contracts, without subscriptions.
Tableau is trying to make at least part of our new TV landscape more streamlined with a business proposition of free amid a future that looks awfully segmented.
Is that program on Netflix? Is it on Max? Is it on Prime Video? Like, where is it? I think there's frustration with that.
Anthony Katzer is CEO of IAB Tech Lab, a nonprofit tech consortium.
We've had this big bang of fragmentation and all these independent streamers coming out, either at a network or a broadcast level. And I don't know how sustainable that is over the long term, because if you look at just public filings, those economics are not viable currently.
He predicts a future that looks a lot like the TV of the past, a monthly fee for streaming services supported by ads. Whatever the business model for content, TV manufacturers want to make the viewing experience even better, on par with a movie theater.
Our flagship TV, like you see here, has a Dolby Atmos audio system built into it, but TCL and obviously every other manufacturer is introducing world-class sound bars. We have a 7.1.4 home theater system coming to market in 2024 that will fill in that experience and give you that complete immersion.
The future of entertainment personalized on the biggest screens yet. So I mentioned in the piece there, our parent company is betting on the future of free TV. Tableau TV is getting big endorsements, including from NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith, who you're seeing in this ad here. I sat down with Emmitt and our CEO, Adam Symson, to talk about the future of free TV. Why does the EW Scripps company think free is the future?
What's a more compelling proposition than free for television? People are so sick and tired of higher prices affecting their wallet. The entertainment costs are skyrocketing out of this world. And so coming to market with a way for people to more easily watch premium television for free, it's a no-brainer to us.
And live sports have always been a draw for people, but there's been a challenge for TV carriers and distributors to keep that up. You think people are still coming to live TV for those live sports?
No doubt. I mean, when you think about sports is one of those things that brings family and friends and communities together. I grew up with my cousins and my daddy's friends and my mama's friends all around the table and all around the television screen watching the Cowboys play. So when you think about sports, it is one of those great equalizers that bring people together for various purposes. I may be a Cowboy fan, somebody else may be a Steelers fan. But when we sit in that room together and our teams are playing against each other, it is like competition without having physical competition.
By the way, I'm a Bengals fan, so I don't care about the Steelers, and I like the Cowboys, and I'm supportive of your career, but it's about the Bengals for me and my family.
Well, unfortunately this year, your Bengals are not in the playoffs.
No,
so,
they are not.
Can I excuse myself? You guys.
Can I riff on what he said for a second? I mean, we live in such a polarized society right now, and what's remarkable is that sports is pretty much the only thing that brings people together. I mean, sports is sort of a proxy for tribalism, and you can, you go to, here we are in Las Vegas, and you see what happened last year during the finals for the Vegas Golden Knights win for the Stanley Cup. You had hundreds of thousands of people who didn't even have tickets show up at the arena and stand there in order to cheer on their team from the outside after they won. There is nothing that brings Americans together like that kind of spirit. And that's what we think is so critical about the move for sports back to broadcast. The other thing, and I think we both probably remember this notion of collective memory, right? Like back in the day, I remember Kirk Gibson's home run. I remember the Challenger explosion. I remember Refrigerator Perry's dive over the line. At the end of the day, because things have fragmented so much, live sports remains the only thing that brings people together so that the next day everybody said, "Did you see that?" Yes. And we share that moment together, even if we're not physically on the same couch.
I agree 100%. I've heard so many fans share with me the story of watching the Dallas Cowboys play in the 90s with their grandparents or their parents, and that same old conversation that I had. It's the thing that inspired me when I'm sitting on the floor watching watching the Dallas Cowboys play the Saints, and my father has his friends over on a Sunday. It is Sunday after church communion, if you will. I mean, everybody's together and enjoying watching their team play, and they're gonna sit there and watch football all day, or sports all day. It can be basketball, it can be NCAA Final Four and all those kind of things. It can be the World Series. But people are gravitating to the television to watch sports, and sports is one of those things that bring a lot of people together. Dancing with the Stars was the other one.
That's true. Live television, right? So Tableau is a product that makes Tableau is a product that sort of democratizes that experience. Everybody can afford now to sit and watch free television, and to do so easily. So we really want to make that experience of community really accessible to everybody. I mean, in the same way, I every Sunday is an appointment for me and my daughters to sit on the couch and watch the game. Every Sunday. And that's just something that, we fire up the Tableau, we turn on the TV, and we sit for a couple hours together. The world stops, and we spend that time together. Otherwise, what do we have that brings us together?
Quickly, I'm curious, we're here at CES. Have you guys been having good conversations with people? We saw Tableau at PepCom. Are we gaining a little traction here in the conversations that you're having?
Tableau sales have been great in the fourth quarter. Just came to the market in August, so things have been going very well. And now we're beginning to see interest from B2B partners. Folks who recognize that they can potentially bundle Tableau in with their core offerings and create a stickier engagement or a stickier relationship with consumers. So we're really, really excited about what we're seeing with Tableau at CES.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Ahead, speeding into the future, or even flying there, the latest in the future of transport. Plus, can you trust what you see? The threat of deep fakes and disinformation in the age of AI. We are back here at CES 2024, where we visited the Ukrainian entrepreneurs who are showing off tech innovations from within the shadow of war. One company here is developing robotics that improve warehouse efficiency, expanding their business despite devastation and chaos at home. Another is installing secure lockboxes to reduce delivery time for shipping companies and at a fraction of the cost of companies like Amazon.
Before the war started, we had 70% of our business in Ukraine. And as the war started, we pretty much lost it overnight, and we had a transition. But we survived. It was quite tough. It was a huge sacrifice for both us as founders and our team members, which we're very grateful to. We haven't lost a single team member.
Now, only 5% of their business is in Ukraine, but JetBeep has tons of new business overseas, mostly in Europe and some in Canada. Pretty amazing innovation in the face of some pretty stark challenges in Ukraine. One of the things that has helped Vladimir Putin in his country has been propaganda, and in many cases disinformation, to help him garner public support among Russians. Many of them, 3/4 about the numbers show, support that invasion of Ukraine today. A big concern here at CES is what disinformation could look like in this new age as our technology gets much smarter, much more advanced, and AI integrates into every facet of our lives. To talk a little bit about that, I want to bring in Deloitte's Michael Bonder and Kate Grafe. It's great to see both of you. Thank you for being here. It just so happens that you are both yourselves immigrants from Ukraine. That is an area of the world right now where this conversation about disinformation in tech has particular importance. Do you see disinformation as being a potential concern in warfare for the foreseeable future, maybe forever?
Yeah, I think not just in Ukraine, but really all over the world, we see these geopolitical conflicts bubble up, and this has become a new weapon. Disinformation, misinformation, and how it's being utilized to sway opinion, to drive to an outcome, often malintended outcome. So it's certainly something that is no longer just some faraway future. It is here today, and it's only figures to increase.
One of the interesting side effects of misinformation and disinformation is we're seeing the proliferation of content that could have been created by AI, that could have been created at scale, and it's creating something of a liar's dividend, where people start to question legitimate sources of news, legitimate information, and start to question whether perhaps it was generated by AI.
It's interesting, the concept of a deep fake getting much bigger than just a video of Tom Cruise doing something Tom Cruise didn't actually do. How do you nowadays define what a deepfake is?
Well, deepfakes have actually originated. The first time we heard the term deepfake was in 2017. It was in online forums. And it was applied specifically to the creation of content for adult films and adult entertainment. And now as this technology is proliferating, we're identifying new cases, and not all of them are negative. So in some ways, the combination of humans and machines has created a renaissance where we can also have the creation of entirely new art forms and music and translation of content in different languages, all of which is new. But of course, with that comes more sinister applications where malicious actors intend to mislead or influence outcomes by using this technology.
I mean, we've also seen AI integrated into information dissemination, news, literally, with a deep fake news presenter being used in a way that looks very convincing. What does that do to public trust in the information they're getting, and how does a consumer who is not in the nooks and crannies of this industry differentiate between someone who's honestly trying to give me the best information they have and someone who is convincingly trying to replicate something to get an agenda?
Transparency is the foundation of trust. It's one of the key and critical elements to engender that trust. And I think we can all expect that deep fakes and synthetic content is going to become more and more prevalent in media and all of the information around us. So there's a mnemonic device that can be quite helpful to individuals as they're evaluating whether or not information is synthetic or legitimate, and that device is FACES. So first we think about the forum and where, the forum and factor in which we saw the content. We think about the author and the type of content they tend to produce. the context in which that content appears, and then we look at emotion. This can be really difficult for AI to fake to date. So you'd be looking for things like infrequent eye blinking, jittery movements. You'd be looking for robotic sounding voices. All of those could be telltale signs. And lastly, we look at the skin. In synthetic content today, the skin tends to be very glowy, sometimes shadows are misplaced, and you see the absence of flaws. So that face as mnemonic can be really helpful to consumers to start to evaluate the information they're seeing and whether it's legitimate.
That's really cool. What happens when that gets good enough that I can't distinguish between a real face and a fake one?
I think the responsibility becomes shared. It's not just on the consumer, the user. The platforms, the media companies, technology companies have a responsibility to be transparent that this data, this image, this audio, this video was synthetically created. And providing that signature, that digital signature, that clear, transparent, communicative way of saying this was digitally created is an important expectations we should start having towards content producers.
And that probably goes to somebody on Capitol Hill to write that.
And certainly regulation can help nudge this in that direction, for sure.
Michael Bonder, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Kate Grafe, wonderful to see you. Thank you both. I appreciate you being here. When we come back, we're going to head back down to the show floor. We are in the automotive section of the show, and there are a lot of developments happening in automotives to help us race or fly into the future. We'll be back.
Scientific, the way I put these words together like hieroglyphics.
That is actor Utkarsh Ambudkar demonstrating a newfangled anti-aging device known as rapping. No, seriously, the AARP has partnered with Freestyle Plus. It's a group that works to exercise mental fitness through music. The AARP is hoping they can encourage older folks to rap their way to a sharper mind.
So it's a different space, but 1 in 5 of our members tell us that they are concerned about brain cognitive abilities, and how do we make sure that they can do the things that they want to do well into their 80s and 90s and 100 and beyond.
I will not pretend I have any capacity to freestyle rap to any degree of success. So we'll just speed right into our last story of the show, the very latest, the coolest tech, getting you from point A to point B.
Doors would close, prop rotors are already up in the front, rotors in the back would come down, take off vertically.
Imagine you've just stepped aboard the Supernal electric aircraft, or eVTOL, due to fly you over the congested freeways of LA, 40 miles in 20 minutes.
You get on your app, you say, I need to go from here to there, you get in a car, go to a vertiport, you get on the eVTOL, go through the sky, come land at the next vertiport, and then get in a car, finish that trip.
If Supernal gets this project off the ground, their flying taxi, as it were, could reduce traffic congestion, cut fuel emissions, and speed up travel across major cities. You guys have also implemented some pretty cool, automotive design.
What we are doing is taking the best of auto into aero. So we've worked at Supernal with Hyundai Motor Group's design centers for a really comfortable cabin experience.
Supernal, a division of Hyundai Motor Group, is part of a multi-trillion-dollar automotive industry gathered at CES, racing to stay ahead as our transport gets smarter.
CES is a really great enabler to really push our thinking.
Rich Kramer is CEO of Goodyear, a company that just announced smart tire technology that will help autonomous and semi-autonomous vehicles measure the conditions of the road and respond to it accordingly.
It's not just something that can enable autonomous vehicles. All vehicles have increasing autonomy in them, so those type of features, even in a fully driving vehicle, not an autonomous vehicle, still can help that driver react faster, help the vehicle react before the driver does in certain circumstances that are out there.
That already has implications here at PACCAR, where legacy truck makers like Kenworth and Peterbilt are forging their way into electric vehicles.
We're learning, our customers are learning.
This truck, already popular in Europe, runs on a battery, while this one is still diesel-powered, but designed in a partnership with the US Department of Energy to be more aerodynamic and burn less fuel. This super truck is really kind of cool. Look at how narrow that cockpit is. The driver sits in the middle to allow for that more narrow structure. And you'll see there's no side view mirrors on this thing. That's because there's those cameras up there at the top that extend out and provide that view for the driver. Then there's hydroelectric.
We are partnered with Toyota as our fuel cell supplier, and we're going to be launching in 2025 with this truck. So this is a completely zero emission solution. It's an electric truck, but rather than storing the energy in batteries, we're utilizing a fuel cell. And what a fuel cell does is it turns hydrogen into electricity and water.
All of it daring consumers to jump aboard, demand clean transport, and make it the way of the future. What would you say to people who go, I'm not getting in that thing, why would I do that?
Well, I think like with any new technology, we recognize there's the early adopters, and so we are focused on our launch customers. They'll see how safe it is, they'll see how comfortable it is, they'll see how their transportation from one point to the other in a congested city area can be simplified. And in the 2030s timeframe, we think this will become adopted.
And with that, thank you for joining us for this edition of Scripps News Reports. On behalf of our entire team on the ground here in Las Vegas, I'm James Packard.